Hey everyone, this is Adam Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology. Today we are going to take a look at the astrology for the week ahead. That is April 14th, Monday through Sunday, April 20th. One of the big pieces of astrological news for this week is Mars leaving the sign of Cancer. So as soon as it leaves the sign of Cancer, it starts engaging with an opposition to Pluto. So we're in the midst of quite a significant turning point with respect to the long Mars retrograde cycle that we experience in the early part of this year of 2025. So we're going to look at that today, but there's also, I feel like this is a week of where there's a major emphasis on minor things. There's a lot of small things happening this week outside of Mars finally leaving Cancer. We're going to look at some of those things today and tell you what to expect. And I will have some horoscopes for the fixed signs today. Finally, the fixed signs are getting a little love at the weekly overview. So that is what is in front of us. Before we get into it, remember to like and subscribe. Make this your place of daily meditation. Make this a place that is a part of your daily spiritual routine. We appreciate it. It helps our channel to grow when you like and subscribe. Transcripts of many of these daily talks can be found on the website, which is nightlightastrology.com. A little promotion. My year one course begins June 22nd. So the course is called Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic. Click on the courses page, go to first year course. At the end of today's video, you're going to find an informational, at the end of today's content, you'll find an informational video, I should say, on the upcoming course, everything that it includes. I'll take you over to the course website so you can see how the student portal works. 30 classes on the year, all live webinars. Everything's recorded if you can't make the live webinars. We also have breakout study sessions in between our major units of study. We have lots of bonus material and quizzes and optional homework and reading. We have tutors that are there in an interactive group forum discussion that lead our breakout study sessions. So it is a very thorough and in-depth program that will prepare you to read charts for other people. Of course, we have 3 years of curriculum that we have designed for the sake of professional development, but many people take our classes just for personal spiritual enrichment. So anyway, stick around after today's talk to learn more about the program. The early bird payments are available at the bottom. If you use those before May 15th, you're going to save on the cost of the course. We also offer need-based tuition. So if you're someone who'd like to take the course, but you need a little bit of flexible pricing because you're on a fixed or limited income, we totally get it. Please use the tuition assistance. It's there for you. Take advantage of it. We want to make sure that no one's ever priced out of studying a sacred topic. I also want to remind everybody that our masterclass for the spring has just started. You can still, not too late to join, go to the masterclass series right here and check out the latest masterclass that just started. We're looking at all of the houses from the Indian philosophical perspective this year. So not too late to join those or pick up archived recordings of the winter masterclass to follow on the spring. The other thing I want to mention is my wife's herbal apprenticeship program is starting in April. So if you go to her courses page, click on Herbal Foundations Apprenticeship. You guys know Ashley. She comes on the channel and talks about herbs. This is a course in plant spirit medicine that is really awesome program that she's been teaching for many, many years. So check that out over at skyhouseherbs.com. There's also need-based tuition for that program. So a couple things starting here this spring. Really excited. Our year 2 program, our horary program, also start in June. So lots of new courses starting up here soon at Nightlight. I'm excited to have a new group of you to study with. All right. So on that note, let's shift our attention to the real-time clock and take a look at what's happening this week. Here we go. Now you'll see that, first of all, at the start of the week, here we are on, so let me update this a little bit. Get to Monday the 14th. Nothing much is happening today in terms of dynamic aspects in the sky that are forming. It's a little bit later in the week that things really get cooking. So we start on April 16th with Mercury leaving the sign of Pisces and entering Aries. Now, the reason that this is a significant transit this week is because Mercury's dignity improves greatly, and it's getting out of the co-presence and the recent conjunction with Saturn. So we're taking Mercury into a place where its dignity is much better. We're getting it out of the conjunction with Saturn, which can be a little heavy and maybe just a little bit more serious. So the mood for Mercury lightens a bit, which we may notice in terms of thoughts, mental and emotional and communicative dynamics that are around us. Even things like technology, if you've been dealing with things that are breaking, or we had to deal with replacing a water softener while Mercury was retrograde in Pisces and conjoined with Saturn. Surprise, surprise. So if you've been dealing with any heaviness from Mercury, you're going to find that this is a nice shift for Mercury because things probably get a little bit lighter. Now, I say that, but I have to say on the 17th, right away, Mercury does conjoin Neptune in Aries at 0 Aries. I actually like this as a point of great illumination, creativity, imagination, with an emphasis on action and um, initiating new things, new activities, new ideas, new thoughts. 0 Aries is a tremendously catalytic place. It's a place of birth. So the birthing of new ideas, new technologies, new plans, new something that you need to say or speak, or a new writing project. Um, all of these all of these signatures to me are a part of the 0 Aries mark here. Mercury Neptune can also fill us with, maybe a raging imagination. You think of the fiery and kind of impulsive and perhaps even temperamental or irritable qualities of Mercury and Neptune, and I think of inflammation mentally or verbally, or ideological combustibility. Like you're fired up about ideas, but maybe going to extremes. I would watch impulsiveness around this transit as the week goes on. But after this, then certainly as the week goes on past the 17th, we're going to see that Mercury gaining some distance from Neptune, fully in Aries, as the morning star. It's a lot less gooey than Mercury in Pisces. So we'll think about it that way. If we keep going from here, the next major event of the week, which everyone will, it's like hip hip hooray. Uh, Mars leaves Cancer. That Mars has been in the sign of Cancer for so long, going all the way back to the autumn of 2024, or the spring if you're in the southern hemisphere. The placement of Mars in Cancer was weighty, because that's a place where Mars is in its fall. So there's really nowhere to go but up from this moment, which is nice. However, as soon as Mars enters the sign of Leo, immediately it's in an opposition with Pluto. That opposition with Pluto will occupy much of the astrological conversation for the next couple of weeks to come. This week is the week in which Mars changes signs, leaves Cancer. Everyone's pretty excited about that. But look, as soon as it enters Leo, we've got a trine to Neptune. We've got an opposition to Pluto. I mean, it enters the sign of Leo and has a lot to say. And I just wonder how meaningfully we can tie together some of the recent Mars and Cancer periods with this upcoming Mars-Pluto opposition, because the retrograde was so closely tied to the opposition to Pluto back at the beginning of the year. So that will be a big part of what we do this week and next, starting to prep ourselves. And I'm going to be doing a live stream on April 24th, where I do some live birth chart readings and also talk about the Mars-Pluto opposition in greater depth, and celebrate the 80,000 subscriber mark that we were trying to get to, being surpassed this last month. So that should be a fun thing. Mark your calendars for that. You can find announcements for that. I think it's going to be 10 a.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Eastern, or it's 9:30. I can't remember. But anyway, it'll be announced on my Instagram and on the YouTube posts. So Mars entering Leo, certainly the dignity of Mars picks up. And I think that has to be, for all of us, has to be exciting. Mars in Cancer has this, it's a vulnerable space emotionally. And it can be a very triggering space, especially for things related to our sense of safety, security, connections to things like home and family. That's been a transit that has brought up a lot for people. I've seen it in my practice with my students, stories that you have all sent in. So interesting. Now, the thing that happens on the 19th is the sun will leave the sign of Aries on the 19th and enter Taurus. Now, I don't usually track the sun's change of signs too closely, unless as soon as the sun changes signs, there's an immediate major aspect, and in this case, there is. So as soon as the sun enters the sign of Taurus, it's immediately in a square with Mars. With reception, Mars is in the sun's sign, and it's in an engagement with Pluto. So this little T square between the sun, Mars, and Pluto is a very powerful story in the total arc of 2025. This is one of the transit periods that I've highlighted as one of the most significant of the year. And the simple reason for that is that Mars-Pluto oppositions are always significant. Add into that an aspect from the sun with reception to Mars, another square to Pluto, and the history of this Mars opposition coming through in direct motion, then retrograde motion, and then direct motion again, as well as the fact that that opposition to Pluto has happened across Capricorn and Aquarius as Pluto changed signs. You get the feeling that this transit that's coming up is really one of the event periods in which you can start to feel the change of eras astrologically that's taking place mid-decade, which, all of us astrologers are talking about, right? You've got Pluto changing signs, Jupiter changing signs, Uranus changing signs, Saturn changing signs, Neptune changing signs. That usually will track in collective terms, historical terms, with really significant changes of the the psychic and collective weather. So this period is one of those. There's several that really seems to mark the changing of the times. We're going to start experiencing that by the end of this week on Saturday, because the sun immediately starts interacting with Mars and Pluto in these squares within 3 degrees. So I would say that, the weekend is much more intense than this week is. This week we get Mercury into Aries. The Mercury conjunction with Neptune is not nothing. Mars leaving Cancer is not nothing. But late in the week, as those changes happen and then the sun enters Taurus, that's when you really start to feel, okay, something's really cooking now. And that feeling of something alchemical starting to take place, we're really going to feel that the next 2 weeks. And you'll see a lot of focus on that with my content. Anyway, so this becomes an important moment on Saturday. You'll feel the shift. And then on the 19th, the other thing that's happening that very same day, of course, is Mars is trining Neptune. Now, I think in the most encouraging light, Mars trining Neptune gives us a kind of creative courage and the motivation or incentive or the vision to start acting in a new way, to start working towards some kind of transformative event, or to start pushing in a direction, let's say. The reason I say this is because as soon as Mars trines Neptune, it moves right into the opposition with Pluto. So it's as though Mars is gathering a vision, a plan, an idea. Now, is that plan grounded in truth, in light, in virtue, in the values of our higher self? That's the hope, right? Because then the encounter with Pluto can be about bringing forth a kind of transformation rooted in a new vision or a new idea of what is possible, and also maybe some vision of where we need to grow or what is required for us to continue evolving right now personally. We kind of pick that visionary spiritual sense of how we must act from the Mars-Neptune trine, and then it immediately offers the potential for catharsis, change, and action when Mars opposes Pluto. So I think that the Mars-Neptune, again, in the most positive sense, is about gaining a vision and a sense of momentum and almost like a call to action, a vision and a call to do. Now, then it works into Pluto, and then the alchemy of what we have to do, what is required to make the change that we're excited about. That's the next part of it, I think. Now, on the other hand, this Mars-Neptune trine, in the hands of people or forces whose visions are delusional, violent, aggressive, domineering, selfish, cloaked in shadow, this is going to be about, tyrannical forces gaining power and momentum, and then, you know, pressing an agenda with great Plutonian darkness behind it. So we want to watch out for that on the personal level within ourselves. It's not that I don't think any of us listening to this are like bad people, but we all have within us the potential to be seduced by vices and voices that don't have our best interest in mind. So I think this weekend starts providing us with a sense of what is the path forward in the highest light from my spiritual evolution? How can I take that forward? And then immediately we might face some kind of oppositional tension or crisis, but we'll know what we need to do and where we're going. So we're going to be visiting that later this week for sure. The Mars-Neptune trine will be something that we spend a lot more time with. On the 20th, last day of the week, which is Easter in the United States anyway. This is our Easter. I think it's like a church calendar thing where it's this same day is observed all over the world. I'm pretty sure it is. Anyway, that's probably, probably so ignorant about that. But anyway, Venus will, on the 20th, Venus will be making a little sextile to Uranus. I like this connection with Uranus in Venus's sign. This is something that we've recently seen through Venus's retrograde motion. So freeing up some space. I think this is helpful because Venus is about at the start of next week will be conjoining Saturn again in direct motion. This will be once in direct motion, once in retrograde motion, now once again in direct motion. The encounters with Saturn have been about the maturation of love and relationships. And ideally, with Saturn and Uranus sextiling one another, we're looking at freeing up more space or creating breakthroughs and some meaningful creative revolutions in the realm of things like art, beauty, friendship, love, intimacy, sexuality. I like that Venus is hitting Uranus again while Uranus and Saturn are aligned in a sextile, because it really does suggest that Venus's whatever wall Venus is running up against with Saturn in final direct motion next week, there's an impulse to create more space and change and freedom that is a part of that meeting. And I think that's a good thing. It certainly adds a lightness and a sense of, you know, inspired possibilities, not just the kind of melancholic heaviness that Venus Saturn might otherwise entail. On the 20th, Mercury will also briefly sextile Pluto. So it's a sneaky, powerful day where I said, you know, we're majoring in minor things this week. You know, Mercury, Pluto sextile from Aries to Aquarius, to me feels like, again, clearing the fog of Neptune a little bit might be about the ideas that are forming and shaping, which goes along with the Neptune trine to Mars and fire signs. There's a lot of fiery energy that wants to move forward and carry new plans forward. There's a lot of new things happening. And then there's immediate feedback and the need to adapt to new information. It's like as soon as you start doing new things fueled by new energy and new inspiration, you get new feedback that you have to work with rapidly when a lot of things are happening in quick succession. So I see this as a time of immediate sort of Plutonian feedback. There's something deeper going on than we saw. There's an unconscious dimension that is becoming visible to us somehow. We go, oh, okay, I see something I didn't see. And that has to be a part of how I calibrate this process in front of me, signified by Mars approaching the opposition to Pluto. So a lot of, you know, the force of evolutionary necessity is very much at hand in the next couple of weeks. You're really going to feel it coming in over the weekend again. Mars and the Sun will square on Sunday as well. That Sun-Mars square, to me, is about leadership and action and the appropriate use of force and will. And those themes are going to be heightening as Mars and Pluto get together, because the dark side of that transit is really an abuse of power or the shadows of power and will and strength and things like that. So that comes right in on the heels. And it also this whole transit, by the way, with the Sun so powerfully configured both through the sign of Leo and the Sun entering the square to Mars and Pluto, may bring up issues around things like leaders, presidents, people in power, CEOs, women or men, fathers, father figures. So it wouldn't be surprising to see us sort of working with some of that karma in our personal lives. So anyway, like I said, it's an interesting week because there's a lot of minor things that add up to a major feeling, you might say. And especially at the end of the week, the latter part of the week, like Thursday through Sunday, you're going to really start feeling, oh, okay, now we're moving into a Mars Pluto period. Everything starts cooking. So we will break these things down as the week goes on. But what I want to do right now to close us is give you just a few thoughts for the fixed rising signs. The reason I say this is because the fixed rising signs are going to be getting into the Mars Pluto opposition as soon as Mars enters Leo. So we're going to be visiting these horoscopes for everybody, but just to prepare you, we're going to start with Taurus. If you're a Taurus rising, the Mars Pluto opposition is happening across your 10th and 4th. So watch for tensions between your public facing self and the private, internal family sphere, the public facing self, and maybe things like domestic life, family karma, your living environment, the public and private dimensions of your psyche to be coming into a more critical form of dialogue. And the tension there is part of an evolutionary necessity, again, to use that phrase, that's presenting itself right now. If we go forward to Leos, the Mars-Pluto opposition is going to start forming across the 1st and 7th. So we're really thinking about selfhood, individuality, individuation, and the consequences that those developments in ourselves carry into relationships, or changes in relationships, or changes happening in the lives of partners that feed back and create the need for personal reflection or change within ourselves. So the self-other access being strongly highlighted for Leos this week and in the next couple of weeks ahead. And then we go to Scorpio rising, and again, we get the 10th and the 4th. With the 10th and the 4th, now it's the same tension for Scorpios between public-facing self and private self. The public-facing self, you may feel the impetus to act or lead or challenge or implement something new. You may also feel forces of the unconscious pulling from the realm of home, family, the private sphere of life, your sense of what provides stability or security internally or at home. And those two places are going to be in a pretty intense dialogue over the next couple of weeks. Finally, for our Aquarius risings, we've got the self-other access again. And Pluto in the 1st is that evolutionary impulse to personally evolve. I am changing my identity, my very character, my nature, my body, my physique, my health needs to be recreated somehow. And that is going to come into a powerful dialogue with forces of change and a kind of provocation, maybe on a spiritual or psychological level from within the realm of relationships or interactions that you have with other people in any kind of meaningful interpersonal dynamic or partnering. So the conversation about personal identity and growth and evolution alongside of the challenges or changes happening in relationships. So you can see how the self-other and the personal, private versus public sphere are in a pretty intense dialogue for all of the fixed signs in those different ways. Again, we'll be doing some horoscopes on Mars Pluto for everybody. So don't worry if you're curious to know how it will be affecting you personally. We will be taking a look for everyone in short time. So that is it for now. I am going to sign off. And after this video, after I'm signing off, stick around to hear more about the upcoming Year 1 program, Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic. It's a fantastic one-year course in ancient Hellenistic astrology with an infusion of archetypal and psychological astrology, which is really a part of everything I do. So I hope you'll stick around to learn more about that. And if you have any questions, you can always email us info@nightlightastrology.com. All right, that's it. Take care. Bye. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around. I'm excited to tell you about our upcoming program, Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic. It is our first year course in Hellenistic astrology that begins at the end of June. June 22nd is our starting date. I'm going to take you over to the course page to tell you more about the program and what you will learn while you are in it. So here we go over to the Nightlight Astrology website. You can find this at nightlightastrology.com. Click on the courses tab, go to the first year course. Now, this program is ideal for people who maybe have a little bit of background already in astrology. Maybe you've done some studying on your own independently, taken some courses or webinars and workshops, but you're looking to deepen your understanding of astrology. And maybe Hellenistic astrology in particular has been calling to you. I'll tell you more about what Hellenistic astrology is in a minute, but on the first year course page, you're going to find everything that the course includes. I want to make the structure of the course clear first. And then at the end, I'm going to tell you 5 reasons that I think anyone might have for studying astrology, and you can see if you check any of those boxes. First of all, there are 30 classes on the year. It's just a little under a year-long program with 30 webinars. Every webinar is 2 to 3 hours long, including a lively Q&A and conversational section after we finished our lesson for the day. Each of those lessons I lead personally through live webinars, so you can attend those live. If you want to follow along at your own pace in your own time on your own schedule, you can always look at the recordings and take those in. And I'm going to show you what the class page looks like so you can see how you can interact with the course as uniquely and creatively as you want to. But you can either attend the live webinars or listen to the recordings or audio or video. In between major units of study within those 30 classes, we have separate classes outside of the 30 classes that are essentially tutoring sessions led by our staff, our course directors. We have 3 of them for our first year program, 3 tutors that help me guide every single class you're in and lead study sessions, and are also staffing an interactive group forum discussion where you can ask questions, look at charts, practice what you're learning with all of your classmates and with tutors there to help you. They'll always answer questions within a business day. So it's a really well-staffed, well-structured program. In between those major units of study and the breakout sessions, we also have guest speakers that come in throughout the year that you get free access to. The recordings are archived for you in your class folders. So you're getting people within our curriculum. And you're also getting to visit with some astrologers who are outside of the Nightlight School, but we really admire their work, and so we bring them in. You also have a ton of bonus material. With every lesson, we have recommended quizzes, study guides, optional reading. And that allows people who are really, really, intense, deep, like studious types to go as far as you want to with the material, while other people who are maybe, content to take things in at, just kind of taking in the classes, that's there for you too. So you can kind of go as deeply as you want to. The class, as the year goes on, goes through major units of study in ancient Hellenistic astrology. So if you're not familiar with ancient Hellenistic astrology, this is the earliest form of horoscopic astrology. This is where the astrology that you've probably learned today comes from originally. And that makes some of its features unique. Like, for example, ancient astrologers utilized whole sign houses. We study why they used whole sign houses, how they used them, and we study the why behind really everything: houses, signs, planets, aspects, dignities, essential and accidental dignities, delineation approaches. How do you read and predict within a natal chart? All of those theoretical areas of astrology, we not only learn how to do, but we learn the why behind it. And this is what I think people find most empowering about the course, is that ancient astrology really helps to give you the rationale for everything so that you have the insight available to go off script. What I mean by that is, like, let's say you're learning about a sign, Aries or Taurus or a Gemini, something like that. Ancient astrology won't just give you a list of the adjectives or keywords or descriptions of, say, a sign or a planet. It will give you an underlying philosophical explanation that then allows you to extrapolate from it the kinds of lists that you read in textbooks, which means you'll have an understanding of why everything on a list in a textbook is there in the first place. And you'll also have the insight and creativity available to add things to the list that are a part of your own unique intuition and contribution to astrology. And this is what ancient astrologers wanted students of astrology to learn, the why behind everything. So this is a class where even though you're seeing things like planet signs, houses, dignities, aspects, and you're like, oh, I've already learned about those things. Not if you haven't studied Hellenistic astrology. I don't mean to sound condescending, but like truly, most people's experience coming through this program is, wow, I had no idea all that I didn't know about the roots of everything that I've understood thus far about astrology. So it really is about digging into the philosophical core of why we do everything. And then you have greater intuitive and creative capacity as an astrological craftsman or craftswoman. So anyway, that's a brief explanation of why I think Hellenistic astrology is important. Not to mention that ancient astrology was really focused on our ability to accurately describe and predict things in the realm of karma, fate, and destiny. Whereas modern astrology's hallmark and strength is psychological depth. And so when you put the two together in our program, which is why it's called Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic, I think you have something really special. So on that note, you can see everything that we cover here. So there's a video with some of our alumni you can watch. Everything is there on the page. Now, there are 5 reasons that I want to touch on briefly before I tell you about your payment options and need-based tuition. These are 5 reasons to study astrology that if you mark any of these boxes, especially if you mark several of them, then I think it's a good indication that you might be ideal for this program, might be an ideal fit. So the first one is if you find that astrology has become a part of your daily, weekly, monthly, yearly spiritual practice, it is a part of how you lead an inner life, then there is nothing more empowering than deepening your connection to that language, because that puts you more in the driver's seat. It's always good to have astrologers that you rely on, teachers that you listen to, get a little objective perspective, especially when you're looking at your own chart through a reading. But there's really nothing more empowering than learning to speak the language at a deeper level for yourself. And if that calls to you, if you want to understand things and be able to speak more confidently and clearly about this sacred language that you love, and this is a great reason to take a structured program. Number 2 is that you feel called to read charts for people. And look, not everyone who takes our programs is on a professional track, but we have 4 years worth of professional training programs at Nightlight that will prepare you to read professionally for others if that's the path that you're on. Maybe you don't even know if you're on that path. That's fine too. Many people take our programs just for the sake of their own personal enrichment. And again, to be kind of more in the driver's seat with respect to your astrological journey. You have more of an understanding. You can be more confident in reading symbols and experiencing transits with your own understanding that you've cultivated. But sometimes people want to read for other people. This will definitely set you up to do that. We have a certification track where you can take exams at the end of every year. They're optional. You don't have to if you're not on that level of interest. Number 3, you have done a lot of self-study. You've heard things from here and there, but you're looking to bring it all together. It is overwhelming to study astrology on your own. So if you want organization, structure, and coherence, what you're getting in this program is going on 15 years of training astrologers, 15 years of developing curriculum that has in mind the overwhelm that many people experience. And this program is structured year 1, year 2, year 3, however far you want to go with our curriculum, to give you an organized, structured, coherent way of understanding the history and language of astrology from both ancient times to modern times in all of the vastness that the field includes. And also, as we go, we want to give you the confidence that you are a part now of an astrological lineage. Astrology has always been practitioner-based. Coming through Nightlight, you are going to have the opportunity to feel aligned with a lineage. If you like my work, if you feel aligned with the way I speak the language, then this might be a good reason to come study with us. Now, if you're seeking the why behind things, if you're like, yeah, that's interesting, I get it, I understand, but why? Why signs? What's the difference between a sign and a house? Why do they ever come up with a sign and a house? What's the distinction philosophically? Why does Mars represent this? Why does Mars in this sign represent that? If you are someone who feels empowered by understanding the why behind things, you are going to love this program, because that's how I am as a teacher. That's how I am as a person. And that's what this program is really all about. Number 5, you are looking for astrological community. Look, I think Nightlight is unique in terms of the kind of warmth, acceptance, safety, and inclusiveness that our community includes intellectually, spiritually. We are really pride ourselves on being a peaceful kind of family. I'm a Cancer, right? So it's kind of a family-oriented environment. So anyway, I will end it there. If you check any of those boxes, you may want to consider studying with us. Now, I'm going to take you over to two things. I want to show you the dashboard. So here is the Thinkific page. You're going to join this. And on your dashboard, you're going to find any courses that you've enrolled in at Nightlight, and there are many, so you may end up in being involved in multiple courses, and you'll find that they're all there on your dashboard. Click on one of them, and it will take you in. You're going to find that on the left-hand side, there's orientation instructions, course information, class links, and calendar, all the technical stuff you need to know when you join the course. And then you're going to find that there's, when you go through the lessons, that the lesson includes the video, the audio, the slides, the transcripts, the Q&A box text if you couldn't make it live and see what people were talking about, flashcards, homework, a bonus PDF with all sorts of additional recommended reading, bonus videos, additional video links for bonus material. So every single time that you want to visit something within the course, everything is nicely organized. So you can see here, I'm going to pause this before it starts going, but you can embed the video right there. It's embedded and you can watch it. And then if you wanted to, you could also, right here, you could also download the video and watch it on your own device. And that's same for the audio as well. And then as you go, you'll see all of the lessons are laid out. The study sessions are also recorded if you can't make those live. So everything is nicely arranged on the website for you. And that makes it a course that if you wanted to take 3 years to accomplish, you could take 3 years to accomplish. If you want to take it for the sake of getting certified, you have the full year plus an additional year to take the exam. So, 2 years total that we give people if you're on a professional track. But most people complete the program in a year. And a lot of people, over 50% of our students go on to our year 2 and then our year 3 and horary programs as well. Now, final thing I'm going to show you is right here. You're going to find here is the enrollment options at the bottom of the first year course page. Again, this is at nightlightastrology.com, and you're going to click on the first year course, go to the bottom. The early bird payment saves you several $100s off the cost of the course. That's available till May 15th. Early bird installment plan saves you on the installment plan, regular cost of the course. That's also only available until May 15th. And then need-based tuition. All of our programs include a need-based option where we give you a sliding scale and we say, you pick your monthly tuition number within this sliding scale, which is greatly reduced off the normal tuition price. That is for people who are on a fixed or limited income, receiving disabilities, single mom, whatever the case might be. We want to make sure that nobody's priced out of studying astrology. So you don't have to feel any shame. If that is you, if you need help, if you want to take this, but you need to make it work within a tight budget, we get it. Times are tough right now. We don't think people should be priced out of studying a sacred subject like astrology. So we've been offering need-based pricing for 15 years. Nightlight is a donation-based school. It started that way. We have a sliding scale, so it's kind of like donation. You get to choose your rate anyhow. So if that's something that will help you, please use it. Thank you for listening to this. I hope it gave you a really deep and comprehensive introduction to what the course is all about and why you might find it exciting to come study with us starting at the end of June. So any questions you have about the program as you're visiting the course, email us, info@nightlightastrology.com. We'll be glad to talk about anything that you have questions about. We are here and we have a wonderful staff of people at Nightlight who will be a part of your learning experience and are all glad to help you. All right, that's it. We'll see you again later. Bye.